Après V, Codger Biker here, and this concerns my TomTom 550 rider, faithful sat-nav, which I like to use. And mounting it to a GPS bar. On my bikes, it's always been a 12mm bar. But probably equally applies to sort of 10mm, 12mm, whatever. And I've tried all different mounts over the years. 3D printed ones, which I just don't trust. They're a little bit poor quality. I know some people have had success with them. This is another 3D printed one. Again, don't trust it, and a bit lightweight and flimsy. The SW Motec one's very good, and probably second best. I quite like the fact that you can slide the whole mount off with the GPS and just leave that on the bike. The only problem with that one is it's quite a lot. It leaves the GPS quite a long way from the mount, so there's a lot of leverage on it, and it's rubber mounted, so you tend to get some wobbling. But it's a very good mount. I've also tried various metal ones like this one here. None of them compare to this one by Rally Raid. Now, they don't pay me for this. Quite a difficult company to buy things off, I find, but that's just my experience. But I've used it on 2 bikes on various trips, never failed me, never let me down.
What a place to fall over your dip.
I've also tried this kind of thing with the car sat-nav. It works, but, you know, a bit flaky. This is the mount for me. Rally Raid. But as I say, there's a snag. Keep watching, find out. Right, what have we here? I've got some sunshine for a start. So, this is, as it arrived, a Rally Raid 12mm GPS multi-mount. So this will fit any bike with a 1/2 inch 12mm GPS bar, such as the CB500X, I think the T7, 690 Enduro R, if you've got the Rally Raid kit, that is. I think also maybe the Touareg, I'm not sure about that. But anyway, it's fit quite a few bikes, and it's great if you've got a Garmin sat-nav, but not so good if, like me, you've got a TomTom. This is a TomTom base, and I'll show you why in a moment. You can fit it with the appropriate Allen bolt. Take that off. You can fit it to the bike without having to get in from behind, and then fit this onto that, and then fit your Garmin sat-nav mount onto the front of that, because they can be mounted from this way. Unfortunately, the reason why this is a bit more tricky to use with the TomTom is that the TomTom, I've got a mount here, mounts from behind. That's not the actual 5mm bolt that I'll use, but it's just to illustrate the point. So that's got a 5mm thread, and it has to be mounted from behind. So if you've got the screen, it's very difficult to get at without taking the screen off and everything, which is what you have to do. But once it's on, it works great. Just setting it up's a little more tricky for a TomTom than it is if you've got a Garmin sat-nav. There is a further problem, which is mentioned on the website, in that this plate, although it lines up okay with the TomTom mount, because it's threaded and the TomTom mount is threaded, you end up straining the threads on the mount there. So what they advise you to do, and what I've done in the past, is drill out those holes to 5.5mm to allow the fixing to go straight through. It is actually threaded, look. May even get to it. It just starts to strain. They're not quite parallel, and there's not enough give just to get it to work without damaging the mount. I tried with the previous one. Didn't want to drill it, because obviously once you've drilled it you can't really send it back, can you? To see, this is my 690 Enduro R. There's the mount, and I've bolted it from that way. In order to do that, I have to remove this fairing to give access to it from there. It takes a little bit of fiddling around to get the angle right, but once it's right, it's brilliant. And the problem with the TomTom is the mount is so big it pushes it outwards. So the Rally Raid mount fits quite snug to it, even with the TomTom. So basically all we're doing with a 5.5mm drill is just taking the threads out of those 4 holes there. You'll notice that 2 of them are lower down and are quite close to the edge, so it does make it quite thin. But I've had no problems whatsoever, and it's been on the 690 Enduro for 2 years, no issues, and I've been over some rough territory with it. Took a 5mm drill bit and just gently took out the thread, so that the bolt will then fit through. Okay, as I said, these bolts are too long, but they're just for illustrative purposes. So I can now put my first bolt into there. That one can go into there. That one can go into there. In the end, I decided to drill them all to 5.5. Now you can see that's quite close to the edge of there, but they'll be okay because it's quite thick. Also, this seems to be a slightly different shape to the previous one that I had, where there was more space, but anyway, that's how it's gone. Okay, so it's got a bit of Loctite on it. Try and get a little guess it for now. It's on the bar. That seems okay to me. Solid. And one thing I've noticed, and somebody else said it, is the Rally Raid mount doesn't sit perfectly square. So, having fitted the Rally Raid mount, it's slightly wonky to the left, slightly anti-clockwise out, and I probably wouldn't ever have known that if it hadn't been for a viewer who told me he had the same problem and wondered if it was his GPS bar, but I'd had the SW Motec mount on and that was straight, so it can't be this crossbar. This bar feels slightly oval, I don't know if it is or not, maybe that just throws it out a little bit, but mine's a little bit rotated to the left, so I just need to move it a couple of degrees clockwise to straighten it back up again. Actually, looking at these ridges, they don't line up. In fact, it's slightly to that, so I wonder whether it's something to do with that. I think we've found our culprit. Yeah, there's a bit of give in that. So for me, it was like that, slightly anti-clockwise. So now rotate it till they line up. That should be perfect. Brilliant. So in the end I compromised with that side and that side to get them both about as lined up as I could. Just slightly off, but it was much straighter than it was before, so hopefully that will now be in line. Hey, success. You can see it's level with the top of this where it wasn't before. The Rally Raid mount is because it sits much closer to this bar. The SW Motec one is out here. With the TomTom you've got a wide voltage converter bracket thing, which is quite useful to be able to move your sat nav around, but it is bulky. So having this closer in, I just prefer it. Hope that helps. Codger Biker is out.